Pierre Poilievre says enough is enough. He's telling Justin Trudeau to stop the flow of illegal border crossings at Quebec's Roxham Road.
That is why Conservatives are calling for the Prime Minister to implement a plan to close the Roxham Road crossing within 30 days from now. Merci beaucoup.
What would you like to see? What's your solution? What's your solution on that?
Close Roxham Road.
In Edmonton, Alberta's United Conservative government announced measures to make life more affordable for post-secondary students. A blockbuster front-page report by Robert Fife and Stephen Chase in the Globe and Mail accuses the Chinese Communist government of interfering in the last federal election to help the Trudeau Liberals. At Queen's Park, Premier Doug Ford boldly defends his new healthcare plan. I'm Brianna Sawyers, and here's what's happening in Conservative Canada for the week of February 24th. Robert Fife and Stephen Chase rocked Ottawa with a front-page story, secret intelligence documents, painting a picture of an organized plot by the Chinese Communist government to interfere in Canada's last federal election, support the Trudeau Liberals, and defeat the Conservatives.
The Chinese government was behind an aggressive influence campaign during the 2019 Canadian federal election, which included funding a network of at least 11 candidates.
The allegations were first reported by the Globe and Mail. CSIS documents show the Chinese worked to defeat conservative politicians.
And according to the documents, China viewed the Conservatives as too harsh on China and used disinformation campaigns against them.
Among the allegations that the Chinese Communist government's intelligence services organized front groups to funnel illegal cash to Liberal candidates and paid for Chinese university students to illegally work on Liberal campaigns. Conservative MPs joined the other opposition parties to launch an investigation into the election meddling. Pierre Poilievre says Justin Trudeau doesn't care about the illegal activity because the Chinese Communists were helping the Liberals.
He is perfectly happy to let a foreign authoritarian government interfere in our elections as long as they're helping him.
The Globe and Mail's Stephen Chase asked Justin Trudeau why communist government agents who interfered with our election have not been expelled from Canada.
Steve Chase with the Globe and Mail. Good afternoon. I would like to change the subject for a minute to the 2021 elections. As reported in the Globe and Mail today, CSIS has evidence that the Chinese government interfered in the 2021 elections. My question for you is, when the government learned of this, why didn't they expel the Chinese government diplomats involved?
Justin Trudeau did not answer the question.
I have been saying for years, including on the floor of the House of Commons, that China is trying to interfere in our democracy, in the processes in our country, including during our elections. We are aware of this, and I can assure you that our intelligence and security agencies have been working very hard over the past many years to develop more and more tools to counter this, to make sure that our institutions are kept safe. This is not a new phenomenon. This is something that countries around the world have been grappling with for a long time, and Canada is no exception. But what I think is also really important to say is that for the 2019 and for the 2021 elections and for elections going forward, this government created a panel of top civil servants who would lean on all the information provided to them by our security agencies like CSIS to ensure that interference by foreign actors does not affect the running or the outcomes of our elections. And I can emphasize once again that Canada has some of the best and most robust elections in the world, and all Canadians can have total confidence that the outcomes of the 2019 and the 2021 elections were determined by Canadians and Canadians alone at the voting booth.
Former British Columbia Conservative MP Kenny Chiu was defeated after an orchestrated campaign by the Chinese Communist government in the 2021 election. He disagrees with Justin Trudeau. He spoke with Vasi Kapelos on CTV Power Play.
Just before I let you go, Mr. Chu, to be fair, the Prime Minister hasn't ruled that out when asked about it in the past few days based on the initial reporting. He does, however, insist that the election overall outcome, was not impacted. And he says that he has information to that effect. Is that a fair point as well? I understand obviously you lost and there was an impact on you, but his point is he doesn't have any information to show that the outcome of the election was actually determined by this interference.
Well, I've been telling everybody who is willing to listen that this is a factor of our election winning or losing, depending on which position you're observing. But my point is I don't know where the information Prime Minister has received from, and based on what, even if it is swaying just 10 votes, impacting and manipulating with this information of Canadians, would that be okay? If it is 100, if it is 1,000. So it's important that we put in place the legislation that prevents this from happening again.
In Ottawa, Pierre Poilievre told Justin Trudeau to stop illegal border crossings at Roxham Road on the border between Quebec and the United States. He told Trudeau to make it happen in 30 days.
The Prime Minister has had 6 years to find a solution to close Roxham Road. He has the Canadian Border Service Agency. He has the entire Justice Department. He has Immigration and Refugee Services Canada, all at his fingertips. It is his job to protect our borders. He's had 6 years since the influx began. It is his job to close the border, and we're calling him to do it at the Roxham Road passage within 30 days.
Poilievre spoke after the Premier of Quebec demanded Trudeau take action to stop thousands of people from crossing the border illegally from the United States. On the CBC, Justin Trudeau tried to deflect responsibility for the problem by blaming the United States. He also indirectly compared Pierre Poilievre to Donald Trump by accusing him of wanting to build a wall, something that Pierre Poilievre has never suggested.
Could somebody put up barricades and a big wall? Yes, if Pierre Poilievre wants to build a wall at Roxham Road, someone could do that. The problem is we have 6,000 kilometers worth of undefended shared border with the United States. The only way to effectively shut down not just Roxham Road, but the entire border to these irregular crossings is to renegotiate the Safe Third Country Agreement, which is serious work that we are doing as a government right now.
Poilievre explained that Trudeau has nobody to blame but himself.
Let me address who is not responsible for this problem. One, the refugees themselves. They're just doing what Trudeau told them to do. He told them to cross at Roxham Road, and he created the infrastructure to facilitate it. They're just doing what they're told. They're desperate people trying to do what all of us want, which is to create a better lives for themselves. So it is not the refugees themselves. They are just doing what the Prime Minister told them to do. Second, it's not Joe Biden's fault. This problem started before Joe Biden even became Prime Minister. Joe Biden became President. And the Prime Minister has tried to slough off the blame on the Americans again and again. But it is not any other country's jobs to protect our borders. The job of protecting our borders belongs to us, and in particular to the Prime Minister of Canada. And under his leadership, the number of illegal border crossings has gone up 10-fold, an astounding increase, for a problem that did not exist before Justin Trudeau was here.
He reminded Trudeau that the people who are suffering are millions of immigrants who have played by the rules and applied to come to Canada legally.
Some of the victims of his failures include immigrants themselves, 2 million of whom are waiting in the queue to have their cases heard. More than 1 million have been waiting longer than the acceptable delay time. Refugees, the number of refugees waiting in the system to have their cases heard has gone from 56,000 to 71,000, a nearly 1/3 increase. These are the failures of Justin Trudeau after 8 years.
Alberta's United Conservative government is taking action to make life more affordable for post-secondary students in the province. Advanced Education Minister Dimitrios Nicolaides said the government is capping tuition increases at 2% for Canadian students starting in 2024, raising the Alberta student grant by $225 a month this year, cutting the interest rates on student loans to the prime rate, and doubling the student loan interest-free grace period from 6 months to 12 months. The government is also raising the income limit for repayment assistance from $25,000 to $40,000. The minister said Alberta is in a stronger position to help students now because of tough decisions they made in the past.
Going back to 2019, we've had to make some difficult decisions when it comes to spending. Of course, we had significant budget deficits, and we've had to make some very difficult decisions. But as a consequence of making those decisions, we're now in a stronger position where we're able to reduce interest rate on student loans, extend additional benefits, provide additional support for the Alberta Student Grant. That wouldn't be possible if we did not make difficult decisions.
U of A student Juliana Rodriguez welcomes the news.
Throughout my studies at the university, I have and continue to work full-time and part-time positions to help pay for my education. But with the rising cost of living and higher tuition, working just one job or working part-time throughout the school year is barely enough to get me by. That's why I am so glad that the Alberta's government is introducing new affordability measures and that will positively impact students across all of Alberta. These changes will benefit thousands of students, and I look forward for benefiting on the extended grace period when I graduate in 2024.
Edmonton MLA David Egan, Alberta NDP advanced education critic, complained that the government's new help for students was not generous enough. Matt Yanish, Vice Chair of the Council of Alberta's University Student, representing over 100,000 students, was more realistic than the NDP.
And we have absolutely seen the current affordability crisis make things much worse. Is it enough? No, but is it a step in the right direction? Absolutely. And is it a reflection of what we've asked for as student leaders? Absolutely it is.
At Queen's Park, the legislature is back in session. The NDP wasted no time pitching Premier Doug Ford for higher pay for unionized nurses and hospital workers. They said in order to keep emergency rooms open.
I never thought I would see the day when Ontario's emergency rooms would close so frequently. In Perth and Smith Falls, their ER was closed for 3 weeks straight. In Chelsea, their ERs was closed for 50 long days and nights. The closure constitutes a crisis and is being driven by staff shortages. But the situation cannot be fixed if this government continues to cap the wages of nurses and healthcare workers. When will the government finally prioritize the health of Ontarians, respect our healthcare workers, and keep our ERs open?
Premier Ford let the opposition have it with both barrels.
Premier.
Well, thank you for that question, Mr. Speaker. We know after 15 years of neglect how we had hallway health care. We're fixing health care, and you're blocking health care every step of the way.
Order.
You know, the opposition wants to have endless debates about our healthcare system, Mr. Speaker, but the people of Ontario just want to make sure they see action happening, and that's exactly what we're doing. We have 203,000 backlog surgeries, and we have a plan to make sure we lower that. We have a plan by making sure we give pharmacists now able to treat more patients with common illness. Just in the month of January, just in 1 month, 40,000 assessments being completed, with 65% of pharmacies across the province providing their services.
Response?
That is 40,000 people that aren't going to the primary care doctors. 40,000 people not going to the emergency room.
And that's it for this week. Make sure to sign up for our free email updates, and remember to like and subscribe and stay in the know with what's happening in Conservative Canada.